Hey everyone, this is Toby. Welcome to a new episode of The Real Me, which is episode 5, and it is August 2nd. And so welcome. Hey, in these short reels, what I do is I just cover, some of the production and maybe some of the mixing accomplishments of the prior week, as well as answer any questions that you may have that comes in through the chats of the feeds that I can definitely answer for you. So let's go ahead and get started. So last week was very light. Most of the production has been offloaded. In other words, some of the music has been sent off to a professional mixer, as well as musicians that are currently working on various stems or tracks of various songs. So as far as me personally, I didn't get a chance to spend a whole lot of time on this upcoming album. I am an adjunct professor at a local college that teaches artificial intelligence. So most of my time for the week has been devoted to grading a plethora of AI papers or AI project papers. But that gives me a chance to answer some of your questions that popped in through the feed, including why should I listen to this album? I don't know. I mean, it may not fit your personal preference or tastes. You may have different tastes. But for me, I mean, I feel like this album, it represents real life. It represents things that just about everybody has to go through, does go through. It is my hope that once you have an opportunity to listen to this album, you'll think, yeah, this is me, or I can relate to that, or, I get it. I definitely get that. What makes this album unique? There's a couple of different things, actually. So musically, there's a couple of different subgenre, what I call subgenres that I created. One of them is called Backroad Folk. Backroad Folk, two episodes ago, I played some of the music behind a Backroad Folk type song, and Brown County Mornings is one of them. So Backroad Folk is essentially, like I said last time, sitting on the back porch with a couple of instruments, couple guys, girls, just hanging out on the back porch, fireflies going and everything else like that, and just playing, just noodling and playing, and actually something good comes out of that. That's my hope for Backroad Folk. You'll also hear Symphonic Appalachia, and which is different than Cinematic Appalachia. I didn't realize that until I did some research into it. But Symphonic Appalachia is simply this. It is taking the challenges, a story of the challenges that occurred with Appalachia, whether it's back in the last century or even currently, starting off with Appalachian instrumentation like dobro, banjo, mandolin, acoustic guitar, and really dressing it up. So one of the tracks, which is called "The Mountain Raised Us," is Symphonic Appalachia. It starts off with the Appalachian instrumentation, and then it grows into full choir, full symphony, and as backing up the track. You'll hear contemporary music as well. Brand new, Same Old Boots, Brand New Roads is a contemporary country piece. That is my most popular piece, and that is something that I've updated for this upcoming track, for this upcoming album. So what track has been hardest for me to date? It depends on what you mean by hardest. Probably from a personal perspective, the hardest one for me has been Room at the Table. And Room at the Table is the foster care journey that we've had to undergo. It is that journey where, looking at the kids, in fact, in the lyrics, I even read, the call came at 2 a.m. on an ordinary night. A child with tired eyes holding a blanket too tight. Not much in the doorway, just a small bag and a stare. But the house changed forever, when we pulled up one more chair. So that in itself makes it hard, because I can't sing this entire song without stopping. I would not be able to do that. So I brought in a duet. I brought in Claire as a duet side of it, so that I can do this, because it kind of gets you, when you hear the lyrics to it. Also, the mountain raised us from a production perspective is very, very difficult because having to sync up a lot of different types of musicians as well as choir and the symphony together is very, very, very complicated. And but I feel like once it's done, it's just going to be phenomenal. Again, this is kind of groundbreaking when it comes to a different type of genre, preserving the roots of Appalachia, the story of struggles and challenges and victories. Musically, TVA has got to be the most complex and complicated from a music perspective. Not from production, but from music. The whole concept of TVA, or Tennessee Valley Authority, is just the storyline itself describing about how back in the 30s, farms used to be flooded over from the rains, coming from the mountains, and people getting displaced, and disease running rampant. And then the Tennessee Valley Authority in the 1930s came in and started building up dams to do power generation, which really revolutionized, that area. The storyline, once you hear it, is really compelling. Musically, it is extremely difficult. It's very fast. It has a lot of very quick instrumentation, which I'll play for you in this segment. But it has very quick instrumentation, and to get it all time synced together is pretty complicated. But I think you'll like the output to it. So TVA is probably musically the most complicated. And finally, the last question is, what is one fun fact on a track that I wrote for the upcoming album? Probably one fun fact is with Mercy Stations. Mercy Stations is a story about the Underground Railroad running from Kentucky to Indiana. The Underground Railroad was a network of transportation for African American slaves to get themselves free from their prior slave owners. The Civil War ended. Slaves were freed, but they weren't really freed in many cases. But the Underground Railroad would take these African American slaves and shuttle them over into free states, like Indiana. And so this is a story about one of those African American freed slaves. The interesting fact behind that is not just the storyline, but the fact that this is a song that is driving percussion, but there's not a drum kit. I use boot stomps, I use snaps, I use claps, as well as egg shaker, to represent hitting on the hi-hat, but not a drum kit. So that's one of the interesting things, and it gets pulled off really, really well. So that's it for this week. Thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to talking with you next week. Take care.